Welcome to the Multifamily Innovation Show. This show will bring you some of the most innovative minds in the apartment industry. And today, I have an incredible guest to interview Jon Taylor. He's with WRH Realty Services. Now, Jon joined WRH in 2018, and he serves as the Chief Financial Officer at WRH Income Properties. Now, as a CFO, Jon is in charge of all the accounting, the finance, the human resources, risk management, and all the technology, and all of the holding company's subsidiaries as well. He has more than 25 years experience in the financial industry, and he's served in the operational leadership roles for leading companies, including GE Capital, Franchise Finance Corporation of America, and EMF Broadcasting, in addition to MC companies and other global private equity firms. He's balancing the head thinking with our heart thinking. So look, when we look back on the challenges of 2020 and see the growth and opportunity, we will forever live with the positive and negative changes from this disruption, and we will create new patterns of behavior until the next major disruption event occurs. Now, the strategy of embracing cloud technology and remote workforce efficiency and effectiveness technology in concert with their commitment to excellence through people gave WRH a great foundation to build on the face of this pandemic. Now, WRH reached another record revenue. They delivered on their budgets. It was a record year. Their trust and communication metrics showed a significant rise and an all-time high. Their team member engagement and satisfaction are also at all-time high. They have successfully navigated COVID through their teams and their residents' perspective. They tweaked operational things like property CEO. We're going to talk about what is a property CEO. He's talking about excellence development review. This is really driving excellence and getting through and thriving in an organization. They did portfolio management moves on upgrading the portfolio, converted 2 loans to long-term fixed rate, acquired properties, purchased land, took on a client with 20 properties, rolled out new things like Rent Tracker to essentially enhance the residents' credit ratings, Rhino security deposit replacements. They're looking at liability-only renter policies, implemented new voice-over IP systems, successfully navigated the sale of 4 client properties and operated at a high occupancy, and again, reached a new high milestone for total revenue.
You're listening to the Multifamily Innovation Show with Patrick Antrim, your source for innovative strategies for multifamily professionals, CEOs, executive leaders, and aspiring leaders that want to drive high-performance results for their property or portfolio.
Jon, I have to say, man, reading that, you have been very busy.
Well, I've been very busy. It's really been the team. The team has been very busy, very focused.
Yeah. So the head thinking and the heart thinking, talk to me about where you're going with that.
You bet. So in 2019, April 2019, we did an offsite strategic planning session, and we worked with some people that we've used since 2009 and did what's called a 3D collaborative. And so through that process, we really identified the need for what at that point in time we termed it WRH Excellence Through People. And the concept there was, I mean, self-explanatory, really. Right. But the concept is that yes, WRH has always had a culture of you matter. And that was a real culture. Really does, you do matter, as a resident, as a team member, et cetera. But we felt that to take it to the next level, and that was where the Excellence Through People came from. So we started working toward our vision in 2019. November of 2019, we met with our board, and the chairman of the board was this is where the head heart really came from. Yeah. We had this conversation, and knowing that WRH is very metric driven, I knew that I needed to bring metrics to support the position I was trying to advocate for.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. At the same time, I felt that head thinking only wasn't going to really win the day. The heart needed to be there too. So that balance between heart and head, and so how we approached it is really, the issue was, what is the right level of pay for a beginning employee that comes onto our team. And we had people that we were paying minimum wage. Right. And I just took the position. I said, look, I know that we can do better.
Right.
So as a leader in this organization, as the CFO, I'm not proud of where we're at.
Right.
I think that we need to address this. And so I brought in the numbers, and the numbers were, look, it costs WRH $16,000 per person that turns over. And
that happens a lot.
Absolutely, especially on that 0 to 6 month time frame. There's a really high turnover, industry wide, and we had our challenges there as well. So we had high turnover, costing $16,000, each term. So the point was, hey, why would we want to incur that cost if we could instead let's raise the base for everybody.
Right. And
so we had this discussion, and at the end of the discussion, the balance between the head thinking and the heart thinking was, okay, $15.25 an hour, which is a large increase because we're in multiple states. For instance, Florida, you're in the $8.75 range of minimum wage. To go to $15.25, that's a significant increase. Yeah. But that's what our hearts told us that was the right thing to do,
right? And
our heads told us it's the right thing to do.
Sure.
So that was kind of the first of the heart head conversations, if you will.
Yeah.
And that really it really set the tone, because I got to tell you a story.
Yeah. Well, we're here to talk. So.
So you and I, we can get that. That's really good. That's a really good move to be able to get an organization to make that kind of a percentage increase, dollar increase. But we probably just don't really grasp what that means day to day to everybody in an organization to hear that. So we had just built a really top-notch Class A property, and it just killed the market as far as the leasing velocity. We were like 3 times better than all the competitors. Wow. And so we filled it up rapidly, and we have housekeepers. And so one of the housekeepers, when the manager was able to explain to her what WRH, this decision, and what it was meaning, she just broke down in tears. Yeah. And she shared with the manager that in my whole life, I would never dream that I would be able to make that kind of money.
Yeah.
$15.25. That's an untouchable thing.
Right.
I'm a single mother. I work here all day long. I go home, take care of my kids. Then I go to my next job to work all night long so that I can make ends meet. This is going to change my life.
Wow.
I'm now going to be able to quit that second job because of what WRH has done for me. And though that's just one story, and there are many, many more, but that to me, that's like a very powerful recognition that we made the right decision. That whole heart head, it's not just buzzwords or anything like that. This is people we're talking about, and that's what excellence through people is all about.
Sure.
And acknowledging people, how what their efforts are and what their value is.
Yeah.
So that's where the heart head comes from.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm thinking, because they're not doing the math, even if you look at the turnover cost, even if there's not a spreadsheet in the world that would support a percentage increase or the way others would look at it in terms of selling that idea, but going through it in that capacity. What do you think it takes for, leaders to get to that point where they can have the courage to have that conversation? Because, you've done some really great things in your life, and you come in with, and I love how you're talking about, you went through things with the residents' perspective and the team members' perspective. You have to have that perspective to make a decision like that, right?
You bet. No question about it. And as far as where does that come from?
Yeah, I think, because, in multifamily, you have we look at what's already happened, right? And we'll look at something very standardized, like how many employees, not how much should you pay them, and how many should you have on site. And the old story has always been, one per 100 unit, and then maintenance 1 per 100 units. Like, who came up with that number?
Right.
And why is that number there? I mean, if you relate it to advertising or media, they say that it takes 7 touch points for someone to remember content or whatever the data is. We can go search it. But in today's world, it's more like 26, 27 touch points because there's more mediums. Back then, when that data point was in place, it was, TV, radio, print, that's it. And so they're like, okay, 7. You got to get them with some mailers and a radio ad and a TV ad and maybe a call center, and then you got them on the media piece. But today it's more like 27, and the world has evolved. And so when we're underwriting properties, doing these things, it feels interesting to just kind of take a step back and go, do we need to, your new rate is 15, and the value that's achieved from that.
Right. Well, results always determine if your prior decisions, were you on target? Do you need to adjust? Kind of like you're in the artillery, right? You shoot, you see how close you are, you make adjustments, et cetera. And so I absolutely, we're on target. This year, not only are we having record all-time highs for revenue, and there's much more to that story. Record net operating income, record EBITDA. I mean, every financial metric.
Yeah.
And what's more important in my mind is every employee, team engagement type metric.
Yeah.
Metrics around, and WRH many years ago started a survey. So there's over about 15 years of consistent data to look at, right? So the same questions asked at the same time of the year,
sure,
in the same exact wording, and so you can see over the year the trends, and it's really interesting. I mean, we're talking hundreds of questions, and so you can really get into some granular detail. In 2020, you just see a complete new plateau starting. So up to about 2012, 2013, there was a plateau, up, down, but in a certain range. Then 2014 to 2019, there was another plateau that had been achieved, and then 2020 is a new paradigm that has been established, and I think that it's the focus around the excellence through people that we were talking about, the whole tools that we're talking about, the property CEO you mentioned, the excellence development. It also gets into WRH is really it's a family office. Okay, so the structure, so we have a family, as very wealthy group of siblings that this is one of their wealth building strategies, and for generational wealth, and as they're people, and although they are lawyers and business leaders, people that just like as a CPA, you might think, well, why would Jon care about people? Right. Jon just cares about cost per kind of a thing. Isn't that what CPAs do? But they're people, and they care about people. And it gets back to the first thing we talked about, balancing. We all do think with our heads, and we think with our hearts, and when we can find that right balance between the two, we get these types of results. And so we have the support from our ownership structure to be able to make these types of courageous moves without, okay, well, all right, Jon, go ahead and do what you're talking about. Right. You twist our arm, you do it, but boy, if it doesn't work, don't let the door hit you on the way out, kind of a thing. Sure. So a lot of support there as well, and just that empathy, the caring for all of the people. On those surveys, one of the questions is, do you intend to retire from WRH? Is that where you intend to retire? Over 75% of the people that work for WRH say, this is where I'm going to retire. Wow. And so when you get past 1 year of service with WRH, you rarely leave.
Sure.
Rarely, because it is a family, and there's that true caring.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the bottom line results, I mean, if someone is just looking at yields and those numbers, I mean, what you said about how the housekeeper essentially stopped doing the second job. I mean, what you're doing is you're putting now they're in front of the customer with more rest and
yes,
maybe leading their family in new ways, but like enriching their life in new ways. And then you take that along with maybe the savings of not having the what was it, 16,000 in turnover or something like that, and that number's growing, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So there's the bottom line numbers that reflect being empathetic and leading.
That's right. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. So talk to me about this property CEO. Is that an accountability? Is it an empowerment approach? Tell me about what the property CEO is.
All of the above. Yeah. So again, as we're sitting down with our leadership team and having various discussions, one of the concepts was, okay, so let me understand. We have all of these multi-million-dollar businesses spread over many states, and these. So from a sales standpoint, millions and millions of dollars per property, and then you have properties that have valuations of $100 million asset.
Right.
So do you really want to have a manager, in charge of that, or would you want to have managers who are, what they are becoming, CEOs? Sure. Really, it's a CEO that I would prefer to have, because whether it's risk management, right? Because if I have a CEO leading that property versus a property manager managing the property, I think that my, whether it's work comp claims, whether it's resident injury claims, fires, just the whole risk profile comes down. That's a bottom line savings, as well as if my manager is thinking more like a CEO, then leadership principles, that's going to, as you said, is this an empowerment thing? Yeah, it's an empowerment. Let's empower the CEO, who then will empower their team. That CEO needs to be able to not be so much in the weeds as a manager is, to where I can't think about, hey, strategically, where should my property be placed? Is there an opportunity? I know parking is one of the main reasons why I lose residents at end of lease. Is there an opportunity, an adjacent piece of land? Is there something I could repurpose to be able to create some parking spaces? I'm just as an example. So if you can have somebody thinking strategically and long term, and that gets back long term also, WRH is a long term thinker, right? So we're not buying to sell, we're buying to hold and create significant wealth. And so that's just totally in alignment with the concept of a CEO. So just like anything, I mean, I could have said, hey, we should have everybody be a CEO.
Sure.
Boom, you're a CEO, Patrick.
Yeah, title.
Okay. All right. It doesn't do anything. So instead, we have developed a 1-year program that gets into all aspects of being a CEO. Clearly, in a year, you can't get complete depth, but there's enough depth and enough breadth in terms of providing people with a mentor within the organization, providing people with tools, providing people with real live examples, case studies, if you will, to work through for an entire year. And the people, when I say people, are our existing managers. So we're not forcing anybody to do this.
Sure.
I view it as if you want to do it, you will be passionate about it, and then you will really succeed. And so if somebody forces me to do something, I'm not going to be very passionate about it, and I'm probably not going to succeed.
Right.
So it's totally a voluntary basis. And we started with our first cohort in August. And it's going extremely well, so well that I'm watching it and I'm saying, wait a second, the property CEO was a good idea, and this is really, really good stuff. But these leadership principles, our entire organization can benefit through this. So that's one of our okay, so now, and we look at it as kind of like your cell phone. My iPhone, it's a very valuable tool,
Sure.
right? But what makes it really valuable is the applications, right? So we're calling these applications, right? So Property CEO is one application.
I see.
Within the WRH Excellence Through People. So you've got, here's the
Right.
iPhone, if you will, that platform.
Right.
That's the Excellence Through People. And now we're creating the apps that will really make that Excellence Through People really valuable. So that's what the Property CEO is. We created a program called Star Trainer, best practice sharing. So if you are really
I love
good,
it. They can self-identify with the name of that. Like, I'm a star trader.
yes, you bet. And so you're really good at leasing. So you become a star trainer, and now you will share your knowledge with others in the organization. So it brings everybody up to a star trainer level. Then we just now completed the development of the Excellence Development Review.
Yeah.
So instead of your once a year, okay, Patrick, how are you doing this year?
Right.
I haven't talked
iPhone
with you
doesn't
all
update
year
once a
long.
year.
Yeah, no. So everybody likes to know, and any leader stays very close to their team, and so that was the idea of this. So every 90 days, that can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so but that's okay. Because what we did, as I said, WRH is really metric driven, a lot of metrics. So because we made the commitment to go to cloud, to really invest in technology and be on the leading edge with technology, we have this information.
Sure.
So now let's leverage it, and that's what we built was, okay. So if you are at a market rate property and you are a maintenance manager, here is what excellence looks like, Patrick.
Very important. This is what it looks like.
That's right. I'm telling you up front, this is exactly what excellence looks like.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, a lot of people will say they have their own idea of what excellence is.
You bet.
And here you are. This is what it looks like
We need to do that.
at this position, right?
Exactly. So it's very specific to your position and type of property, because as you know, depending on what the type is, it can't. So we wanted consistency, but we understood there does need to be some differentiation to make it really meaningful.
Right.
So Patrick, here you are that maintenance manager, and this is what excellence looks like. At the end of the quarter here, we will go through this, and through our systems, you will receive your excellence ratings, and this is all about developing you. That's what we call it, excellence development, review. Sorry, and because you probably start off the quarter expecting that. This is where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
But we need to have that touch point.
It's so interesting, and this is off topic, but when I played baseball my whole young life, leading up, getting through scholarships and all that, and when I was drafted by the Yankees, they put us through what they called the Yankee way, and this is what. Their definition of excellence. You don't clean shaven. They literally defined it. And you sort of step into that, and then you develop as an individual. But I think it's fascinating to me that organizations expect that excellence, right? But don't always not only clarify it, but then develop it as you are.
Right, and that's really what, as I said, WRH has always been about excellence, right? I mean, always seeking excellence, wanting to, do work with excellence. But what we're doing now is really bringing it to a tangible, reality. And part of that is the defining of it. So there's no surprises at the end of the quarter. Here we go. I've got that automated report so that overwhelmingness of how can I do all these reviews every 90 days? No, it'll be easy because the system will provide it to you. You just need to schedule time to meet with me, vice versa, and then there's a little bit of qualitative in there, but the most of it it's quantitative. Again, trying to make it ease of use and something that's consistent and not a moving target and, well, but John, you like me better than you do Bob type of thing. No, take that out as much as possible and give you good, meaningful feedback on a 90-day basis. I think that's where today's world, especially millennials, I mean, who wants to wait? Do you really, let's just use Netflix. Let's fast forward. Let's get to the end of the season and know what happens.
Right. Right.
So that's the world we're in.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of the things that we're doing, the different levers we're pulling, is because we recognize the market for labor is intense. And if we want excellence, then we need to be excellent. Birds of the feather flock together, right? I mean, eagles soar with eagles. And so if we can have these types of tools, then not only will it attract people of excellence to WRH, it's just a matter of I want to be there, and I understand that this isn't, with the Yankees. Nobody would have said, hey, you know what? If you go over 20, don't worry about it. Right.
You should know.
Right. Yeah. So it's a matter of demanding excellence. So you need to get together with that batting coach,
right,
and really analyze your swing. What can you do so that you can maybe go at least 5 for 20. Let's start there, and then let's get you to 15 for 20.
Right. And people feel better when they're winning for themselves, right? Like showing up and contributing, and they understand their bigger picture and why all this matters to the whole, operation and stuff. Do you find, this is a lot of leading in, this would help you raise capital, get investors. You start showing these types of strategies as the leading indicators of what creates the yield for the investor that maybe, doesn't even see anything.
Right.
They're backing all of these operations. It seems like these are the leading indicators of those things, which seems so obvious.
Sure.
Why do you think so many people don't step in and do some of these things that maybe even, I don't want to call them different, but you got your operation where a lot of management companies it's very competitive, trying to get new clients and marketplaces, and they're expanding into different marketplaces, and these types of strategies you're talking about, even in the long term, take time to implement, I would imagine. How do you get somebody that's maybe operating for a third party that maybe doesn't drive the vision of that, but the management company ought to get the yields?
That's a great question. So, and I think I have a really good story.
Yes, tell me.
that really hits on what you're talking about. So from the standpoint of first of all, WRH, we utilize our capital. We have plenty of capital. So we're not doing this to attract investors,
right?
Because frankly, we don't want investors. We like to buy on our own account, and so that's not necessarily why we're doing it. We're doing this because we want to build that generational wealth, and we look at the constituent wheel, if you will, right? So I'm in the middle of that constituent wheel. I put myself in the middle, and I look around and I see vendors, I see team members, I see residents, I see government institutions. So there's a variety of constituents, and we're doing it for our constituents. It's if I serve every one of those constituents, I will drive better revenues, better net profits, et cetera. So here's the story. The story is that this time last year, I'd mentioned that we were meeting, and we had this discussion about the 1525. And so we the board was so excited that the board wanted to, let's go retroactive with this. Okay.
Really?
Yes, you bet.
Wow.
So it was very, very warmly embraced. It wasn't, pulling teeth,
right?
You've got to do this or I'm quitting kind of a thing.
Right.
And so there was full adoption of it. However, we do some third party management.
Sure.
And on the third party management, we do it because we view it as a way for us to be able to even raise higher the level of excellence in terms of the staffing and the technology tools that we have, because it'd be hard to justify it if it was just for our own portfolio. So that's why we do it, and we kind of look toward the people that we do third-party management for. Do they match up with us? So we're definitely not out there looking for anybody, just any kind of an assignment.
Sure.
But if you have the same type of long-term mentality, if you have the type of principles that we do, if you would embrace excellence through people, okay, well, let's talk. We would like to consider seeing if there's a way that we could serve you to meet your needs. So one of our top third-party clients, long-term client, they said, no, we don't agree with this 1525
on the payroll. Oh, okay,
yeah. We're not on board with that.
Right.
And of course, these are our employees, right? I mean, that's the way all these structures are. But hey, you know what? It gets back to, serving, right? So it's not very service oriented, servant oriented. Sure. If I try to cram something down your throat, right? I mean, that just doesn't really work. So we said, okay, you know what? If you're not comfortable with this, we really would encourage you to, because it's really a good message if we can say to all WRH employees across the board, it doesn't matter which asset you're working on. This is the way it works. This way we roll at WRH. We care about you. Yeah. It kind of takes away from the message for us to have to say, well, except for. But they felt strong about it, and my view was, you know what? Give them a year, and they will see the results, and they will be there. And so within a year, we'll have everybody at 1525. It's almost a year, right about a year, and I believe we have everybody at 1525.
Really?
I mean, as that floor at the minimum. Obviously, there's plenty of people that make above that, but
because we're not managing to the payroll, we're managing to the NOI anyway, right? Like
you bet,
so
you bet.
You end up getting there in some capacity.
And I think that we've proven over the last year how much that there is a link between pay and excellence. So the pandemic was a huge test for everybody, right? Yeah. And so,
well, there's some efficiencies there too that maybe we could rethink some things too. But let's explore that.
You bet. Well, I'm just thinking. So as most companies, and I put my CFO hat on here. I'm looking at a PPP loan, right? Because the threshold was, look, is there uncertainty to your future? And if there is, you would qualify for this loan. So we're looking at this, and I was kind of an early adopter in terms of understanding, learning what's the different drafts that are going and what it will probably look like when it comes out. At the end of the day, we made the decision we don't want one of those. It's not in line with we were doing projections of, hey, we might see 50% erosion of our revenues, because when you have how many people sick and not working, being fired, et cetera, it could really be bad. We were doing a lot of pro forma, looking at demographics of our resident base, the whole works. And so with that, we right off the bat, our CEO, Mark Rutledge, he's like, we've never seen something like this in our, we've got, a lot of experience on this executive team. And none of us seen anything like this. Our parents haven't seen anything like this. So we need to really come together as a team and really up our game with respect to communication. We need to stay close to the hip with each other and constantly, as things are changing so rapidly. And I really credit, Mark's thinking along those lines to we were really focused on the excellence through people that we were talking about. We had just barely done another one of these 3D collaboratives where we developed the property CEO, and then the pandemic hit. So right off the bat, the idea of we need to communicate, we need to come close together as a team.
Right.
And in our first meeting, the chairman of the board joined in to the meeting, and his statement was that, even though we have these great automated tools that that tell us on a weekly basis, daily basis, what should pricing be for one of our units. So forget that. We need to care. We need to show the residents that we care about them, that there's empathy, because they're going through some pretty scary stuff. We're all going through this. We don't know what's going to happen. So I think that we should not raise rents on any renewal. We should not raise rents. Anybody who wants to, forget what that all says. Keep rents where they are, and start. If anybody has trouble making their rent payment, let's work with them. Forget the evictions. Now if somebody's just a problem, that's a different story. But if somebody's
that's different.
Kind of the commercial real estate. Hey, are you a part of the problem or part of the solution? And so I saw that as a really strong signal to speak to the entire executive team, to then speak to the entire organization of, hey, everybody, we've got your back. Don't worry about it. In terms of we care more about the safety of our employees, the well-being financially of our employees, the safety of our residents, and the well-being of our residents than we do our own situation. We have plenty of capital. We can withstand this storm. Let's do what's right for the people. Back to that excellence through people, that constituent wheel. The residents are key on there. The team members are key on there. So what we did was we said, all right, in April, even though you just received your annual bonus in March, you have now taken on a completely new role, because we believe that you are essential. And so we never shut down. We operated through the whole pandemic. Of course, we provided all the PPE. We had to follow any local CDC guidelines. So we're doing it right. And for instance, if you're a maintenance person, you're absolutely essential, because we have hundreds of people that are relying on you. And if their air conditioner doesn't work, it's pretty darn essential. Now, if you don't feel safe going into that apartment and fixing the air conditioner, or whatever the need is, don't worry. We're not going to force you. This isn't, we're firing you. We will find another way to do it. So again, it gets back to focusing on the people. So anyhow,
and perspective and their needs. Yeah,
exactly. And so with another raise, or not a raise, another bonus in April, plus that message of, we care about you. Yeah,
you're putting them at ease too.
That's
they're reading more news, more fear coming at them than ever before, and it's like, what they're going to fill in the gaps if you're not out there with that message.
That's right. And speaking of message, so when that leadership team that was meeting every single Monday morning, there was communication like none other in the organization throughout the pandemic. So here you've got the whole make lemonade with lemons type of thing. I mean, this is right in the face of really nasty stuff. But the way that WRH chose to really go through this journey, it showed everybody how much, what that caring level is. It showed everybody that wow, the vice president of operations, he really cares. He's on this phone call with me, and giving me direction, answering my questions, understanding why I'm being fearful. And so it was really taking a crisis and seeing the opportunity in it, and really coming out extremely well.
Yeah. What? How do you manage to those expectations in terms of? I mean, obviously, you have to be in a position of strength to have the patience, and it's like solve the income problem, so then you can do the right thing. I see a lot of companies, they're scared as much as their employees, right? Like, how are we going to remain relevant? How are we going to meet payroll, cash flow, all those things? Will we be able to interact with the marketplace? All those things. So if a company isn't sitting on strength, how do you get through some of those things? This new, it's not even a new way of thinking, but it's a different way, I would say.
Right. I'm sure that you've seen it in your career, you've seen it in others' careers, and I've certainly seen it in mine. And that is true leadership has a big, strong component of courage. And so to me, you can't let fear paralyze you. And so I've been involved in organizations where, it's a recessionary time.
Sure.
Let's cut back on our marketing.
Right.
And it's like, no.
Yeah, you've got the CFO over here saying, don't spend any money. And then the CEO is saying, hey, go sell stuff. It's like, wait a minute, there's other.
Exactly. Now, fortunately, I'm a very relational CFO. Yes, I understand GAAP and tax account, but I see the holistic picture.
Right.
And so no, I would fight anytime I would hear something like that. Even if it's the CEO saying, let's cut the marketing. No, if anything, we've got to double down and do more marketing. Maybe it's smarter marketing. Maybe there's some new types of marketing, but definitely do not, because we need customers, we need residents, we need revenue, and let's really find new ways. If that's what it takes, let's find new ways to generate new revenue sources, new business models. But let's not hunker down. A lot of companies about now in this pandemic are saying, okay, let's go on ahead and turn the 401k matching back on. Right. So I get it. A lot of companies that, maybe they were in positions where they just couldn't. But again, this gets back to the fear, and not letting fear drive you, but being courageous and letting that be more of what, we're going to make this. We're going to make it through. Let's not send signals to our team members of, hey, that match that I used to do, I don't have to do it. So that's one of the first things I'm going to cut. Well, think about it. I talked about it earlier, how tough the market is right now to find people of excellence. Why would I ever risk over a 401k match losing somebody? And then what do I get to do? I get to pay $16,000 to replace them.
Right, exactly.
And now I've got somebody who may be a diamond in the rough, or they may be another $16,000 bad decision.
Right.
And
in a lawsuit, or who knows, right?
Exactly. You've been around,
That's true. And so how can you develop that? When you mentioned relational CFO, is that because of the sort of the family, like really getting beyond the numbers and into why a family would own multifamily? Is it something you can teach, or is it a strength?
Well, I think you can probably teach just about anything. It's just as to, how effective does that teaching, grab on and resonate with who it is that you're trying to teach, right? So I think you have to have some natural, inherent kind of leaning in a particular direction to then, have those types of concepts, if you will, really attached to you, and then you actually flex those muscles. And because just like anything, right? I mean, you could teach me something today. We went to the gym and mentally we went to the gym and I flexed that muscle. Sure. Right. Okay. Well, I better get to the gym tomorrow and the next day. And I'm going to need to repeatedly, flex that muscle. Otherwise that muscle will never grow.
Right.
And so that's the way I would look at it, in terms of being a relational CFO. Anybody who's a CFO, well, it's not anybody, but for the most part, you went through formal schooling, you've had, a variety of professional experiences, and so you've flexed those types of muscles. Yeah. But
and you're dealing with exceptions in many cases, and absolutes, and recurring activities in terms of it's like that steering wheel, right, in the vehicle. Right? Yeah. So. But I guess what I'm wondering is, do you see that role evolving, and because of technology and the different aspects of bigger purchases that are happening, that are new ideas, new ways of even risk, new ways of transacting in the world today.
I do.
In a remote world.
I think that I gravitated to this type of, financial leader mentality way early on in my career. And I've just developed it over the years. I think that more and more people that are on a CFO path, or they are a CFO, or that they get that it's all about people, and it's just a matter of where are they on their journey in terms of that development. Personally, I don't think I would have ever had the types of success, had I just been a head thinker only.
Sure.
The head-heart balance is really, to me, that's the key.
Yeah, it seems like there's a blend of more than the financial piece of it that has to evolve over time. You guys have done a lot of things: purchase land, acquiring more units, at least for clients, and how do you still go on that growth mindset even when you're still? I mean, your people are going through all these different aspects. Does it feel like there was even early on in the stages of COVID, it was like, don't show profit, don't show success, like when people are hurting right now, right? So how do you go on the offense in that period of time?
Wow. I never even really thought of it in that sense, but you're right. That is something to, kind of care about other people's feelings almost, if I'm hearing you.
Yeah,
right.
Not to apologize, but
Yeah. I don't think that there was any conscious thought of that. It was, Mark's an athlete, I'm an athlete.
Sure.
Our team has that
right.
heart of a champion, if you will.
Sure.
And so it's all about finding ways to win, and not with that at all costs.
Oh yeah, of
right.
course. Yeah.
It's finding ways to win so that we all win. And so I think that I know with myself, as I was going through this, I would have conversation with bankers, for instance, explaining to them where we're at and the things that we're doing and why we're having success. And I'm encouraging them to encourage their other clients
Sure.
to, try doing some of these types of things. I'm talking with, insurance brokers, same types of conversations, and, other people within multifamily as well. So kind of, like if you will, a best practice sharing.
Sure.
That's kind of the approach.
Yeah. And what, I guess, through all of what you're doing for this operation, I guess, how do you see, and there's no predictions. We don't do a lot of predictions and things like that. But what's your sense of where we go from here?
So I think that, and as we were talking, I was doing pro formas with 50% revenue reductions.
Sure.
Because you don't know where it is. And I still think that there's a large degree of uncertainty still. So, there's a lot of political uncertainty in the United States right now, that is adding on to a lot of the other stuff of 2020. But I think that I don't see, and this isn't, I'm the biggest prognosticator. I'm just parroting what I hear from the smart people. In terms of, I think that I don't see the Fed, doing much with rates. So I think that I take that information and I look at history and match it up, and I say, okay, that then tells me that if rates remain low, cap rates remain low, there will still be deal flow. I see that in certain pockets, home ownership is starting to grow. But at the same time, you still have that fear of, I saw what happened to mom and dad.
Sure.
They got really burned owning those properties. I think I like renting. I like the flexibility of renting. So I think that there, in pockets, there may be some change in terms of what we've seen in the last 5, even 10 years. But for the most part, I think there's going to be deals. I think that, if we were able to go through the 2020 pandemic and really not see much compression in pricing. And I mean, there is still a plethora of activity out there. And, we're out there competing every day on buying assets.
Sure.
We have capital and we want to buy, but we're really disciplined. And so, more times than not, we don't end up on the best and final list. And, but that's okay, because we want to be really disciplined with our capital, invest it, very strategically. And when the right ones come along, we do those. And then we're also looking at development as being a really strong opportunity as well, going forward. So that's kind of
and there's new innovations coming to that part of the business that could change.
That's right. Are you talking about 3D printing of
all that? Right.
Yeah, isn't that
well,
is
I mean, you look
crazy
at just
stuff.
the entitlement, all the technology's there. And then, you get to the planning commission and everything's flattened into the flat 2D plans and stuff like that. And so it'll be interesting how all those things work through, and if that's the solution to affordable housing, if it's efficiency or who knows what. But that's, definitely something to watch. I will say that, spending time at even our events and summits that we've done, we've had sort of an inside look at some of those leading technologies where they're building units in other countries, even skyscrapers in like record times, like days. And it just blows your mind to think of the possibilities.
Right.
But I know a lot of things have to catch up for, you look at even the .com, I guess, era where the crash, the early days of .com, you had people trying to do home delivery of groceries, and hey, it made sense, but people didn't want to put credit cards online. The timing wasn't right, and so there's so many elements that go into making all this right. So, what are you excited about? I know you talked a little about how you see things, from here out. But what are you excited about?
Well, I for next year, what's pretty exciting is we've already identified 8 new applications that we won't develop them all in 2021. But just
now, you're speaking to these inside the container of your program, right?
Yes,
the applications.
Yes, exactly.
Like
so those excellence through people applications that contain, just like every application that I use on my phone makes my phone more precious and more valuable to me. Every one of these applications that actually get used, and people embrace them, will make the WRH excellence through people model that much more, really valuable and attracting, right? Because we want to attract the best, right? We demand excellence. We want to attract excellence, and I think that's what's happening. We are seeing that where people are learning about what we're doing. We're not we're definitely not a big player. We're a good sized organization. We're well known, but there's a lot of other players that are much larger than us. And so from the standpoint of whether I mentioned that we're not really seeking clients on the management side, but one of our the client that's bringing 20 new properties, they were with one of the large, well-known firms, and they just made their decision what's best for them. They would rather more of that boutique working with us, where we're going to treat you just like we treat our own properties that we own, and there's a difference. I know. I remember when I first started working with GE, and one of the head honchos said, "Well, we are entrepreneurial." and I just kind of chuckled like you, and it's like you might think that you're entrepreneurial, and that's great, but when you're 300,000 people strong across the world, you really can't act like you're entrepreneurial. And whereas a company that's smaller, has their finger on the pulse of the market, I just that's a space I like to be in, and that's what excites me about being with WRH. That's the organization, and you're able to really pick and choose who do you want to do business with, because you're partnering with them. And who wants a partner that isn't thrilled with your ideas and concepts and how you do it. You want to be matched properly. So it's like, oh great, we got a new client with 10 properties.
Sure.
We hate each other. Yeah. They can't wait to get rid of us. But so it's about relationships. It's about people.
Yeah. How do you see, as a CFO, technology? Talk to me about that.
So technology, I think that technology, totally embrace technology. And I think that I don't mind being on the leading edge of technology, but certainly don't want to get so far out in front of my skis that I'm on that bleeding edge, right? Because it changes so rapidly. I need to know that it's going to be there. I know. I was with another organization years ago, and I was talking with my chief technology officer, and he says to me, "Yeah, all you CFOs, you all think cloud is the answer." And that's because we had your typical mainframe kind of environment, and it's like that was a threat to that CTO. And here we are, not many years later, and cloud is definitely, if WRH was not dedicated to the cloud, this pandemic would have been crushing. We were teed up. We had practiced a year in advance, because that's a year in advance when we started the WRH Excellence Through People. So we were really honing our people thinking muscles for a year in advance. So when that pandemic did hit, we were flexed and ready to go from the people, that heart side.
Sure. And
then at the same time, because as I've mentioned many times already, very metric driven. How are we metric driven? You don't get metrics, good solid value, type metrics, if you don't have good technology. So we've been working out that technology muscle for years and years and years. And we probably, got a little soft on the people muscle, the heart thinking.
Right.
And so because of a year prior to the pandemic, we were working out both of those muscles. Day one, we were able to keep everybody safe in terms of working remotely, because we had all the technology tools in place already. So it wasn't like, ooh, I need to learn how to use this new software. Right. And at the same time, I need to figure out how I'm going to even do my job now that I can't meet together in the office the way that we used to. Right. So technology definitely is a it hugely important to the value add proposition.
Yeah. And I would follow that up with, how do you see the customer? Are you paying, the next generation renter, even today's generation renter, I know you've really had a deep, compassion and understanding of the employees. They're customers too. But how are you guys seeing the customer, the people that end up renting and maybe choosing not to buy and ended up renting? Right. How are you looking at that? Well,
I hope that it's come across in our short conversation here that, we're highly focused on that customer, right? So the resident, they are the key. And so whether it's providing them with, we're talking about technology, providing them with the type of technology tools so that they can continue their life, no matter what the future looks like with this pandemic or the next pandemic, or whatever comes our way. We are already changing our designs on what we're going to start another development in 2021. And so we're changing up on some of those designs, and with that thought of, okay, the residents, what will be attracting to them? What do they need? We know what they needed for the last 5 years, but for the next 5 years, what would be more valuable to them? And because just like we're competing in the marketplace for the best employees, we're competing in the marketplace for the best residents. We have residents that have lived in our properties for for 20 years. I just heard a story yesterday from one of our regionals in the Texas market where there's a resident in a property, been there 10 years, and elderly. He's retired, and with COVID, he really couldn't get out and shop. He couldn't, just all of the things that we take for granted.
Sure.
And so the team on site, they kind of adopted him, and really took care of him. What do you need? Let us get it for you. Let us help you through this. And I mean, that's
right.
That's what we're talking about. And it's not looking at, oh, well, you're dollars and cents, that's why I'm treating you like this.
Right.
It's looking at you're a person, right? It's excellence through people, and there's value in you being a person. I want to serve you. How can I serve you?
Sure.
And you need me to take you to an appointment? No problem. That's not my job, but
right.
I can take you to an appointment. I have a car. You need to have some groceries picked up for you. We got you covered. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely a very, very high focus on our residents as a very important customer.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love those stories because, I mean, we've all grown up on and watched TV and movies, and obviously sometimes the property owner is not portrayed
yes.
in that type of manner. It's it's portrayed in other ways.
Right.
And that brand has to change, because this has been an opportunity for these communities that you guys build and manage and take care of, for those people that live within them to have a new way to experience life. I mean, in many cases, I mean, I have kids. I mean, we were told to stay home with kids and stay home, and then the kids were not in school, so you're working at home and the kids are at home, and
right.
all these things change. And so I like to hear that even in your design build stuff that you're thinking about what may be different in the next 5 years. So it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. And, back to the constituent wheel, because you were talking, it reminded me that, so the CDC this year somehow decided that they had this authority to get into the real estate world and start telling owners of properties what they can and can't do with their property. And back to, if I look at you, and I mentioned governmental agencies, as I talked about people that are all around that constituent wheel, I need to do a better job with the CDC or with whoever is coming up with the next executive order saying, hey, everybody, you don't have to pay rent. Yeah,
sure.
I need to do a better job with them so that they understand we aren't like, we can self-police this industry. We can self-police ourselves. Nobody wins if we just have no heart. Nobody wins if we have no head, right? So if I give you rent for free, you're going to love it,
right?
But you're not going to love it in a year from now because that building will have deferred maintenance.
Absolutely.
It'll just be a horrible nightmare. And so just like we're balancing heart and head, we need to, with all of our constituents, we need them to understand that balance of heart and head. You can't come in and wave a wand and make a dictate that, what you can and can't do with your property.
Right.
Maybe you feel like you can, and
right.
Maybe you even have a legal right to. Sure. I highly challenge that you have a legal right to infringe on,
right.
on very strong rights. But nonetheless, you need to be able to look at it from the standpoint of, you can't just lump everybody into
sure.
one size fits all. Here for instance, WRH, I can challenge anybody to find a resident who's going to say, yeah, they were really bad people. They treated us wrong, type
right.
of a thing. No, because we don't treat people wrong. We treat people like they are people, and people, just because you are a person, you're valued.
Sure.
And if we always maintain that balance, I know how many times we've said it, the heart thinking, the mind thinking, balance between the two of them, then I think that people who probably have good intentions, but they maybe don't understand the logical conclusion to these ideas of force everybody to not be allowed to evict, force people to not, charge rent. That's right. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And, you don't talk about what you don't know. And sometimes the intention maybe in the public view, it seems like a move to make, but not understanding the math and how that math plays out over coming months if you take oxygen away from your body.
Yes.
You stop
kind
breathing.
of essential.
At some point it's going to be problematic. So I can appreciate all that, and I think that and thank you for some of those remarks, because I think that's another step in just planting another seed. So other leaders and if it's congressmen or just leaders around, even if it's city council, we need people to really truly understand this industry at that level, and hearing from other great owners that are doing great things. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, and you guys also making one of the top 50 best places to work multifamily. It's been an amazing honor too for that, and appreciate all that you guys do. All right, so let's keep the conversation going on social. Listen, follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn. We're also on Facebook. Anywhere else you can find us, follow us on there, and we'll be in touch with you for some more upcoming shows, some of the behind the scenes, documentaries that we're filming, upcoming events, workshops, and even masterminds. So visit multifamilyinnovation.com. That's multifamilyinnovation.com. All right, we'll see you in the next show. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Multifamily Innovation Show. Please remember to like and subscribe for more episodes. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on everything multifamily.